Hello, I'm Mario Toneguzzi, co-editor-in-chief of Retail Insider. Joining me today is George Minakakis, who is founder and CEO of the Inception Retail Group. Thanks for joining us today, George.
Good to see you again, Mario.
Okay, let's talk about a little bit about last year in the retail sector, and then what to expect this year. But if you were to describe the state of retail last year, and how would you describe it?
Um, you know what? I'll describe it this way. There was I subscribed to a news feed, and one commonality I found in the news feed, which was mostly business and economic updates, the word uncertainty kept coming up
Yeah.
in the headlines and in the stories, uncertainty. And I believe that a lot of retailers felt that, just unsure. And when you looked at the data coming out in terms of performance, by segment of retail, it was pretty interesting that some were doing better than others, but they were fluctuating. It wasn't consistent.
Yeah.
Uh, and the year turned out, I guess, more or less flat. Nothing to write home about. I think if a retailer survived, the year without too many bruises, I think it was a pretty good year for them.
Hmm.
But you saw more discounting. Tougher. Some retailers didn't do the discounting. This is our price. This is the value proposition. Here's how we're going. This is what you pay to come and get it. And that's smart because when you start discounting your value proposition at the same time, right? You could hurt your brand.
Mm.
Um, so I think it was depending on the retailer. It really depended on the consumer target group they were after.
Yeah.
Um, you know, the data that leading into out of coming out of 2025 is starting 2026, right? If you don't mind me going there now, you think about it. My view is that the affordability issue is still here,
Yeah.
very much so, right? In food and everything. And then you look at trade, Kusma's there, renegotiating it. The Canadian government's looking for new trading partners. 60% of mortgages are coming up for renewal in Canada this year,
Yeah.
right? And if they were locked, I read that some 35% of them are locked into 5-year terms. Well, coming out of a 5-year term, that means you're coming out of a low interest rate point. You could be double, one and a half times to double what you're paying today,
Yeah.
even though rates have come down. So the question then is, okay, so what are the challenges now for retailers, right? Because you still have these same issues. In addition to AI proliferating, growing very quickly, not just with bigger retailers who are going to be using it, but consumers are using it, right? Remember back during the Black Friday, the first Black Friday, the 85% of consumers were using AI to find product. That was astonishing,
Yeah.
right? So we're seeing patterns and behaviors change. Now you throw all that in together into one kettle, make a soup, right? And the soup does looks a little murky and still uncertain about what it's going to taste like, right? So I think that we still have all of that with us, carrying it through to 2026. Add in the geopolitical stuff that's going on,
Yeah.
it's really uncertain,
Yeah. No,
right?
yeah. Obviously last year, the biggest news here in Canada, of course, was the Bay, right? And the collapse of the Bay. You know, crystal balling it. I know Saks could be next, but do you see another kind of big moment in the industry like the Bay in Canada this year?
In Canada, only if the economy really tanks.
Okay.
If the economy tanks, then you could probably see that somebody, I don't want to say who,
Yeah.
but it could happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what, from retailers' perspective, what separates the retailers that are thriving compared to those that are surviving?
Good question. You know what? A term what I'm telling people today is, you have to move from terrified to transformation,
Yeah.
right? And there's a lot of retailers, I shouldn't say terrified, but they are terrified of the economy and everything else with the things I just listed. And they could be paralyzed in terms of what's my next strategy? What's my next move?
Yeah.
The ones that are succeeding are learning to transform and adapt to this environment, right? So I remember reading a story about the glass half full. It's the scientific method behind it. So your glass is half full with fluid, with water. Well, the scientist said, no, your glass is not empty. The other half is gas,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So if you look at the gas as opportunity, because you don't see the opportunity, right? And if you then you look at all the issues that we've just talked about, then there's plenty of opportunity. Your opportunity is to figure out how do you transform
Mm.
to capture the audience that you need to buy from you. And there are retailers that are doing that very well, right? Um, I would say I had a great story to tell.
Yeah.
Even Lululemon's been doing well. Walmart's doing well. Canadian Tire is doing well. I mean, these brands in Canada are doing fine, but they learn to transform over time and adapt to different changes that have come along. When you don't do that, you get Hudson Bay. And unfortunately, and this was the first Christmas without Hudson Bay, by the way, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Yes.
so when you think about that, that transformation is adapting to primarily technology, right? And being being ahead of the consumer is what's helping them,
Hmm.
right? Everybody else is chasing the customer, right? Like, if you look at, you go back to Black Friday, 85% of the public using AI to find products is unprecedented,
Mm.
right? I don't think anybody expected that, but they did. And now, just the other day, I read an economist that 35 to 40% of business people are using AI in Canada. So that's this again, you're seeing a transformation happen. Be a part of that transformation, and your success probability of success is stronger. But you're going to have to understand what is it that you want to do with this technology, right? What is the outcome you want,
Hmm.
and what kind of investments do you need to make? But I always tell people, look, you're always going to have to spend time learning and experimenting, right?
Hmm.
And ask a lot of questions of the service providers that are bringing you something, because AI is beyond chatbots, right? Um, and I use the word terrified. I should just clarify what retailers are terrified of is that AI moves the consumer from doing the searches to depending on machines to do the searches for them.
Mm.
Then you have a problem because if you're not already in the game, then you're trying to chase and keep up to the changes that are taking place.
Yeah.
The biggest struggle for most retailers is going to be how do I make myself visible, right? In a world where I now have social media, I have e-commerce from before, now I have AI commerce, right? How do I stay visible inside AI commerce when the machine is determining, for the customer, who am I going, which retailer they may actually get to see or hear from in terms of product and services.
Hmm.
That's the tough part.
Yeah. Um, when you go back to the Bay for a second, that's a heck of a lot of real estate that's opened up in Canada. What do you think is going to happen to their standalone stores that are situated in the heart of some major cities, and
Mhm.
then B, obviously the mall space that is there?
Well, I there's a couple of malls near me, right? And what I'm seeing happening there is that the landlords are going to have been taking that property, that real estate, and they're planning on breaking it up.
Yeah.
Finding a tenant is going to be very tough, particularly that volume of space. It's going to be very challenging to find a retailer that can handle that much going forward. There might be some exceptions, but when I'm trying to remember the name of the sporting goods store that was here they had 13 locations and left, right? They had taken some of the space that Sears had,
Yeah.
right? And they couldn't make a go of it. So you've got a challenge of finding tenants. So the solution then is open that up, open a space up, make more independent retail shops. That there will be more retailers who would love to be in the mall. Now the challenge for the malls is to continue bring in traffic.
Yeah, exactly. Now, if you were giving advice to sort of a mid-sized retailer, what is the single most critical decision they need to get right in the next within the next year?
Um, I'm going to say, Mario, that in the next 90 days, the CEO of that company has to decide, how they visualized AI playing a part in their future.
Hmm,
They're going to have to start thinking about that. They're going to have to then start working for the balance of this year towards understanding, what are the barriers to success, what the investment is going to be, and what is it that they want AI to do for them.
hmm,
Then it's also internally in the organization. It's no longer about buy-in. Now it's about action, right? I think the time for trying to think about how you get employees to buy in on AI is past. Now it's a matter of time telling people, okay, we're going to work with AI. How can we augment this technology to accelerate our ability to find the right strategies, the right offers, the right marketing initiatives to get into the marketplace and be faster? Because acceleration is key to this.
hmm.
Um, and part of the acceleration is your response time, right, in the marketplace. If you can't respond quick enough, right, your competitors are. Like I truly believe Walmart is probably way ahead of the game
Hmm.
in terms of everybody. Amazon as well, but on a physical level, Walmart has capabilities that a lot of retailers don't have, and I would be my benchmark in terms of what you'd be striving for is how do I keep up with that?
Yeah, exactly. All right, George. Well, I appreciate you taking the time today.
Mario, thank you.
Okay, that was George Minakakis, who is founder and CEO of the Inception Retail Group. I'm Mario Toneguzzi, co-editor in chief for Retail Insider. Thanks for joining us today.